you guys ready to talk about good MCU stuff again? I know it's been a while, right? Because the last two reviews were underwhelming disappointments. But for real, we get to talk about a good MCU project again. And even though we gotta talk about another bad one next time, point is, right now, let's be happy, let's be excited, because we're talking about a good MCU project. And one of, if not the best of the MCU TV shows. Even though it does come with a pretty big caveat, but we'll get there when we get there. Let's stay positive for right now, because we're talking about Loki Season 1. My girlfriend, the Aziraphale Angel's favorite show. I only hope I do it justice and that she's not too mad at me for what I'm about to say. This is just my pure honest opinion. You don't have to agree with me. What's up? What's happening? What's going on? Everybody, we'll go back to Mr. Station, which is for anything and everything animation, including Marvel heroes uniting for the fate of the world, as well as TV and movies. I'm your host, Justin Small, by the Marvelous May. On to Phase 4 we go, for one of its best projects next to Spider-Man No Way Home. That being the first season of Loki. This is a first-time watch, believe it or not. And this is one that I have been told for a while now is one of the better MCU shows. And they're right. This show's really good. Like, from the first season, as far as I can tell, this show is really, really good. It's funny, it's action-packed, it's suspenseful, it has great world building. There's just a lot to talk about. However, this is also going to go for the same thing I'm going to talk about when I re-review Quantumania. There is one thing about this movie that is a pretty big caveat that we do have to discuss. But let's start with the positives first, because there's definitely a fair few of those, even without going into spoilers. So, here is my written review for the first season of Loki, and why it is a really, really good show. Check it out. What's a refreshing return to the positive of the MCU? After two back-to-back disappointments with WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Marvel finally found an MCU TV show worth watching. 3 times the charm, I guess. Loki Season 1 is a terrific series full of excellent storytelling, great humor, superb acting, and in the case of Tara Strong as Miss Minute's superb voice acting. Yes, I love that they got a legendary voice actress like Tara Strong into the MCU. I love that. I legit love that. Fascinating world building with the addition of the TVA. Funny, quippy dialogue that felt reminiscent of Phase 1, and I mean that as a positive. Amazing character development for Loki. Seriously, they completely changed his character all throughout the show in a really fascinating new way. Some excellent action and fantastic choreography. Beautiful cinematography. This show is just gorgeous to look at. And high rewatchability. I can see myself rewatching this show a lot. Not only as a fan of the character, but as a fan of what they did in the show. However, and unfortunately, there's one big problem. That being that, without spoilers, the finale is very anticlimactic, and will more than likely be getting retconned due to Marvel ditching everything having to do with Kang after real-life allegations against Jonathan Majors following the release of Quantumania. I will talk about more when I re-review that film later, but yeah, that's something we do have to talk about, because Kang was originally going to be the big new antagonist to this multiversal saga. But because of real-life stuff and Jonathan Majors getting the boot, they pretty much ditched all the Kang stuff in the most recent MCU stuff, so pretty much making everything with Kang pretty much completely pointless, in favor of Doctor Doom, which I think we're going to get introduced to either at the end credits scene of Fantastic Four First Steps, or won't see until we get to actual Avengers Doomsday. But yeah, that does suck majorly, because they did a great job building up to this big reveal in this show. Yes, it's not the show's fault directly, but because of that, everything having to do with the Kang reveal feels not only insignificant, but now outright pointless, which in turn makes all the scenes throughout every episode leading up to it a gigantic waste. That is a huge problem that is going to unfortunately harm this show significantly going forward, because its whole build-up was leading up to Kang. And now that Marvel is ditching Kang and probably going to retcon everything else, it feels insignificant. And it feels like just a weird detour in the overall MCU. And that's a huge shame because, again, they did a great job building up to it. But because of real life stuff and because they gave Jonathan Majors the boot before they had all the information, finding out that those allegations were false later on, we're not getting any more Kang stuff. And it's a huge bummer because they were building up to something pretty interesting. So, it's just a huge shame. However, what is the show's fault directly, though, and the actual problems I have with the show itself, particularly just this season, I've not watched season 2 yet, is some very clunky exposition episodes 4 and 5, a few jokes being hit or miss every now and then, and the out-of-nowhere attempt at romance just feeling unnecessary. Like, it kind of works for Loki's character development, but at the same time, it feels unnecessary and out of nowhere. It's like, you did a great job building these two characters up, but now you're suddenly throwing a romance in there? Really? Is that really necessary? And, much like Daredevil Born Again, and the Netflix Daredevil show entirely for that matter, it's a very long show to get through, with each of these 6 episodes being 40 to 50 minutes long each, totaling at 6 to 8 hours total. Yeah, it's going to take you a while to get through this. However, even despite those huge flaws, even despite that huge flaw that's not its direct fault, I'd still easily recommend it. Loki Season 1 has its issues, and it does take a while to watch all the way through. Like I said, it's a very lengthy series. But compared to its peers, it is easily one of the better MCU shows, and it's no wonder why it's the only one besides Daredevil to have more than one season to its name. Yes, technically Punisher has more than one season too, but it's a spin-off of Daredevil, so technically it counts as Daredevil. Just saying. Sure, it's not perfect, but it is a really fun time. Even with those flaws, even with the fact that it's a great big ending is getting retconned out of the MCU, this is still a fun show. This is still a great one that really did an excellent job building out this new time travel aspect, continuing off of the time travel introduced in Endgame. And it's really cool to see how Loki's story continued after his escape in Endgame with the Tesseract. So, it's not a perfect series, it has some flaws, and its ending may be getting retconned, but the rest of it, it's a really fun time. And after suffering through 2 really boring disappointments, yeah, I can easily call this the best of the MCU shows that I've seen so far. I can't call it the best, though, because I still need to watch Moon Knight, but as far as I've seen so far of these MCU shows, most of these being first-time watches, by the way, this is the best one I've seen so far, and it is one of the better projects of Phase 4. So, even despite its ending getting retconned and a bunch of other things, I can still recommend this show, and I can still see why my girlfriend Aziraphale Angel really, really likes it. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the final verdict for Season 1 of Loki. Not this show overall. I still need to watch Season 2, which won't be till the end of this marathon. But for Season 1 of Loki, my final verdict, high, solid, well-deserved 7.5 out of 10. If it weren't for the fact that its ending is getting retconned out of the MCU, I would probably give this an 8. But because of that, and because they build so much time building up to that, yeah, it is going to harm the show overall and watches going forward. Which is also going to harm my rewatch of Ant-Man and the Lost Quantumania, so prepare yourself for that one. That may or may not become a very negative review. But even despite that, this show's a lot of fun, and I had a really good time watching it last night. So, yeah. Give it a try. If you end up not liking it, I can understand. But if you end up really enjoying it, I can also understand. It's one of those it's one of those shows that kind of falls in the middle. But considering that what we've had before was painfully average and, well, garbage, yeah, I can easily take this any day of the week. So, give it a try. If it works for you, great. If not, well, I appreciate you trying anyway. Next time, we're back to the movies. And unfortunately, back to disappointment, because now we gotta talk about one of those movies that I dreaded talking about. Not because it's like one of the worst things the MCU has ever done, but because it has a really bad corporate idiocy situation attached to it. Yeah, it's not gonna be fun. So, I'll see you guys next time for my complicated but mostly pretty negative thoughts on Black Widow. Prepare yourself. It may or may not be pretty negative. See you then.